Set 9 of Teamfight Tactics is finally approaching and launches this Wednesday, the 16th. To get you ready, today I'm going to show you how to play 5 standard team comps you need to know before playing your first games. For each comp, we'll go over legends, portals, augments, early to late game boards, and positioning tips. For each board in this guide, follow this leveling convention, going level 6 at 3-2 for mid game, and looking to go level 8 to roll down for your expensive carries. Starting with comp number 1, Vertical Void. TFT's newest rendition of the Void trait is scary. It combines the power of all Void units to summon a monster. At 3 Voids, the Void Remora. At 6, the formidable Rift Herald. And at 8, the terrifying Baron. No, not quite. There we go. If you liked playing past traits like Cultist or Innovator, or just love yourself a good boss monster, this is probably the trait for you. Here's the board you're playing towards. Kaisa is your primary carry, and Baron and Cho'Gath are your big tanks, so you want to be level 8. Kaisa wants AP and damage amp items like Archangels, Deathcap, Guardbreaker, Giant Slayer, and Gunblade. Baron actually applies armor and MR Shred, meaning you can skip building a Shiver Spark if you hit the Baron. Cho'Gath will take any tank items, with his ability gaining permanent max HP, making him even tankier. Throw the Void emblem on Yasuo for Challenger and CC, or on any legendary unit for more utility or damage. The items are super flexible other than wanting AP, so for legends, you're going to want to take Earth, giving you the best chance of getting a Void emblem so you can bring out the Baron. Baron spikes your comp super hard, and if you can hit that Void +1, it's honestly a free top 4 or more. That brings us to augments. Stable Evolution, Transfusion, and EXP or Economy augments are also good so you can find that Bel'Veth for 8 Void faster. All Natural is also amazing on this comp due to your frontline having so much max HP. Placidium Library is going to be the best portal since it gives you that Void emblem guaranteed at 3-5. Void has one of the strongest openers in the game since you get to spawn in an extra unit. You want to play for win streak, so level to 4 on 2-1 and 5 on 2-5. If you hit any of the Void 3 costs early, you'll be incredibly strong as they have traits that just click together. Don't worry about playing too many Voids as they all contribute to the health of the monster you spawn for each star level they have. As you level up, throw in Bruisers and Sorcerers to power up your board. You want to be level 6 at 3-2, where your board looks something like this. With a Void Crest, it's worth it to roll down for Rek'Sai and Vel'Koz to move up to the Rift Herald, as it's super strong and will carry you until late game. Level to 7, find one Kaisa, then go to 8. Save as much gold as possible so that you can luck into or level to 9 to find Bel'Veth and bring out the Baron. After finding Kaisa 2 and Bel'Veth, splash in whoever you find for utility or damage. The best picks are Yasuo, Heimerdinger, Cassante, Ryze, and Ahri, and who knows, you might even find a 3-star. We did it!
We should have left.
Woohoo! Let's go! Without a Void emblem, you'd end with Rift Herald carrying Kaisa with legendaries, or staying level 7 to reroll Vel'Koz, which I'll talk about more in a later video. Leftover items should be Shroud or Zephyr, or fighter and tank items for Bel'Veth. One trick for positioning is that your Void Egg knocks up enemy units it's next to at the start of combat. This is super powerful, especially in the early game, since you can often knock up entire front lines, which might give you a win to secure your win streak. Scout your matchups every round to see which spot will hit the highest amount of units, averaging out the 3. Ascending to comp number 2 is Shurima Strategists, or simply Azir Carry. Shurima is a trait that gives its units a heal every 4 seconds, and after 8, they ascend, gaining max health and attack speed. At 7 Shrimans, they also ascend at the start of combat, ascending twice. Strategist, on the other hand, gives everyone on your team either a shield if they're in the front 2 rows, or AP if they're in the back. With Azir being a Shurima Strategist, this makes for the perfect 2 variations of this comp. First is Vertical Shurima with an emblem. Azir really wants Rageblade as he has a passive that deals bonus damage every 3 hits. The other 2 items can be any damage items, with Archangels going really well with the Ascension theme. Healing isn't that necessary since Shurima has so much of it built into the trait. Your tank items will go on Nasus, who will take about just any tank items. Since we're clumped, Redemption is a great option, although we do want 2 tiers for Azir and possibly a static Shiv. Speaking of Shiv, place Shiv on Azir himself or Talia next to Azir, or a Spark on Sejuani in front of him to MR Shred Azir's targets. Place the Shurima emblem on J4, as his ability is an AoE stun, and those ascensions will help him get multiple per fight. This is the 4 Strategist board, which you can make 5 Strategists with an emblem. It's definitely worth it to keep as many Strategists in as possible. What's interesting about this comp is that you can carry either Azir, Lux, or both, since Strategist buffs everyone. Azir wants the same items as before, while Lux wants Archangels, Dual Gauntlet, and any other AP items. She does not need any mana generation items. If you're carrying Azir first, slam a static Shiv on Lux, and vice versa. We're going to put our tank items on J4 this time, since Demacia will give him a third radiant tank item. J4 can take any tank items, but if you find yourself with tons of tiers, Protector's Vow is a great item in J4 as he gets to stun the enemy board even faster. At 3 Shurimans, only your strongest Shuriman ascends, and you really want that to be Azir, so avoid putting too many items on Lil Nasus. Your strat emblem can go on anyone else since it's a team-wide buff. For Legends, pick Earth for Shurima or strat emblems, or take Twisted Fate to gear up units faster with all those tiers. For augments, Tome and +1 augments are great, and just like Void, All Natural, Martyr, and Cybernetic Bulk are amazing for vertical since Shurima buffs max HP. Placidium Library is once again an amazing portal for an easy +1, where you can even go for 9 Shurima to almost guarantee a first, or 5 strat. I'd argue that Bandle Cafeteria is even better, since you can get a free spatula to craft into Shurima and bonus max HP per round on your frontliners, which will benefit from the Ascension bonus. Here's a good early game board. Put items on whoever you have paired or 2-star first, preferably Cassiopeia. If you don't have 3 Shurima, any AP units work as item holders. Choose whether to play for a win or loss streak based on how many items you have finished and how many 2-star units you have. It's totally okay to lose streak with this comp. A mid-game board wants to look like this, adding 2 Strategists. Roll for 2 stars to stabilize your board, and coast to level 7 and go fast 8, since the end board is pretty expensive. Here's some positioning tricks for a vertical Shurima board. Nasus stays in the middle because of his ability, which steals stats from the nearest enemies, which you want to be the opponent's tanks. Place J4 against the largest clump of enemies to get the biggest AoE stun possible as it hits within 2 hexes. If you can, try to keep Sejuani on the same side as Azir, as Sejuani's ability chills nearby enemies and gives Azir a small true damage boost per attack against them. Finally, K'Sante slots in between the side with Azir, as his ability knocks away his target. When K'Sante knocks away a tank, Azir moves up a little bit to chase them, and might retarget onto the enemy carries after that, sending in Sand Soldiers and dealing some good AoE damage if they're clumped. You can also do a little trickery if you see tanks placed on the top corners of the opponent's board, as when K'Sante knocks someone past an edge, he knocks them off the field and out of the fight. Breaking the alliteration theme, Demacia dominated week 1 of PBE because of the trait's raw power. It turns your strongest unit into an elite and equips them with a different radiant item that they can use each round. Elites also give themselves and nearby allies flat armor and MR. You get 1 elite for 3-piece, 2 for 5, 3 for 7, and a 5 for 9 special deluxe combo at Demacia. Alright, who wrote this shit? Use your final board with a spatula on Swain to get 7 Demacia. We clump our frontline in the center so J4 gets a good stun and gives resistances to the whole frontline. Our elites are J4, Lux, and Kayle. Lux takes any AP items but loves Jewel Gauntlet. Her ability's low cost and target switching means she doesn't need a mana item. Kayle wants to get her level 6 3-hit passive off faster, which also shreds enemies' MR, meaning we don't need to pack a Shiv or Spark. J4 once again takes any tank items, but if you can afford a tier, Protector's Vow or Redemption are both great, especially since we're clumped. This comp has lots of variations, and I'll talk about them more in a later video. For Legends, grab Earth again for vertical, since we can take Demacia, Strat, or Sorcerer Emblem. This comp works on any portal, but once again, Placidium Library or Bandle Cafeteria with another Demacia +1 for 9 Demacia is a free win. Some great augments are Cybernetic Bulk and Jeweled Lotus. Petricite Shackles, the Demacia specific augment, is not bad at all. For early game, Kayle 2 is a super strong item holder, getting even stronger with a free radiant item from Demacia, letting you play for win streak. Build up to mid game with more Demacians or more frontliners at level 6. An emblem will definitely help you hit that 5 Demacia mark. This board can bring you through level 7 and 8, swapping Kayle's non-Rage Blade items to Lux as long as you have a replacement Kayle on the way. For positioning, be aware of where the opponent has the most frontline to give J4 the biggest stun. It's almost always worth it to clump for the Demacia bonus in the mid to late game. Since there's not so much AoE CC this set, you can get away with clumping the backline as well, especially with Demacia 7 giving 40 flat armor and MR. Keep Kayle on the same side of Lux to shred MR, and if you have extra damage items on Sona, position her diagonally against the most units on the enemy board for maximum damage. However, be careful with how you place your items, as it makes a unit an elite based on how many items they have in addition. Also, units will not become elites if they have all 3 items full already. Prefer AD comps? So do I, and you're in luck because Aphelios is Set 9's premier 4-cost AD carry. Aphelios boasts the Deadeye trait, where every 3 seconds they switch targets to the unit with the highest current percentage HP, allowing them to snipe the backline. Adding more Deadeyes adds bonus damage to this effect. Freljord is an amazing splash trait that summons an Ice Storm against your opponent at 8 seconds into the fight, shredding armor and MR for 10 seconds and dealing some max health true damage. The 3-piece also reduces enemies' mana, and the 4-piece adds on a nasty stun. All of these effects are board wide, and the built-in armor shred lets you skip building Last Whisper. Speaking of building items, Aphelios' best item is Rage Blade, as his ability gives him shock arms that deal extra damage per attack, meaning you want a ton of attack speed. You want 2 more damage items, as Aphelios is your hard carry. Guard Breaker is a great item, since Aphelios can attack a shielded frontliner, then switch to a backliner through Deadeye, gaining that Guard Breaker damage bonus for his Deadeye attacks. Sejuani can take any tank items, and extra items can go to Urgot or Shen. For Legends, grab Twisted Fate to give Aphelios the best items with Pandora's, or pick Master Yi for the bonus attack speed. For augments, Freljord +1, Harmacist for healing, and Glacial Breeze are all super powerful, and as this is an expensive comp, Econ and XP augments help out too. A good portal is Hearthhome, which will let you upgrade one of Aphelios' items into a Radiant item, namely Deathblade. Jin 2 is a solid item holder for the early and mid game. Supplement him with Bruisers, Bastions, and Freljords along the way. If you hit an Auction 2 before Aphelios, you can move your items to him, but as soon as you get one Aphelios, forfeit all mortal possessions. I mean, look at this guy. Come on. Go for fast 8 and build up your frontline with Freljords, and solidify your top 4 with Aphelios too. So why this odd looking positioning? Sejuani wants to chill the most units, and Taric blocks damage against adjacent allies with his shield ability. Lissandra drops AoE CC, and whoever gets hit also takes more damage for the next 2 seconds, buffing Aphelios. Notice how I staggered the Deadeyes on the opposite side of Aphelios. You want Aphelios to always be your last units alive, so try to get enemies to run down the rest of your backline far away from Aphelios. Our last comp today, and my personal favorite, is Piltover Gunner or Zeri Carry. Piltover is TFT's newest econ trait, summoning the T-Hex at 3 Piltovers. The T-Hex gains charges with each round you lose, and the amount of charges increases exponentially based on how high your loss streak is. After you win a round, all charges are converted to power, giving the T-Hex health and damage per charge, and even a laser beam at 30 charges. Selling the T-Hex with charges converts them into loot, namely gold, units, items, or all 3. So, like Fortune and Underground and sets before, Piltover encourages hard lose streaking into turning the tides with 1 win to cash out your power. Enough about dinosaurs, here's the standard board for Piltover Gunner. We grab 4 Gunner, which is a much simpler trait, giving stacking AD every time Gunners attack. Zon gives your units almost a 4th item in the form of a chem mod, giving 2 at Zon 4. Note that you can only attach 1 chem mod per champion, and have to sell them to get the mods back. Give 1 damage mod to Zeri, and a tank mod to Echo or 2nd damage mod to Jinx. These mods appear randomly per game, but the best mod for Zeri is Bionic Arm, giving her a chance to shoot Chain Lightning from ability twice every auto attack, which makes Zeri Carry very scary. Nailed it. Zeri really wants Rage Blade to synergize with both Gunner and her ability, and takes any other 2 damage items, with Deathblade being the best. You'll want a Last Whisper on Jinx, and any extra AD items can go on her, as she can certainly dual carry with a chem mod. Tank items go on Vi or Sejuani. If you move them to Sejuani, make sure you have a replacement Vi to keep in the T-Hex, which with power acts as a formidable frontline. I've had much more success keeping the T-Hex throughout the game, rather than selling it for a cash out, but if you do, definitely pivot off the Piltovers. You can drop Zon and Gunner for more frontline, and Freljord if you're missing out on the Last Whisper. For Legends, take Twisted Fate to guarantee the best items, or Pengu for HP to hold the longest loss streak and create the biggest dinosaur. More great augments for Piltover include Harmacist, Last Stand, Red Buff, and Dueling Gunners. Targon Prime is by far the best portal for Piltover, as when you hit 40 HP, you get a huge stimulus check from the TFT government. Since you're hard lose streaking, you'll hit this before anyone else. This gives you a huge advantage when you're trying for your first win in order to convert all your charges to power. You only really want to play this comp if you can get Piltover by 2-3, and it's much better if you can hit them at 2-1. Play any 3 Piltover units and make your board as weak as possible to increase your chances of losing. Scout the rest of the lobby and see how strong the weakest player is, and update your board accordingly, adding units and items strong enough to kill a few units, but not strong enough to win. When you reach around 40 health, spend all your money on level 7 or 8 to get your board and 2-star units, and go for the big cash out. If you got this far, congrats, and coast along with your laser beam wielding Mega Dinosaur. If you break your lose streak too early, consider rolling down once you do to save HP. Winning always generates 1 extra power, even if you don't have any charges, so using the TX to help you win streak isn't bad at all. With your dinosaur, finish your final board where you can swap out Vi for Heimerdinger and pick up upgrades for his turret. Shrink module provides armor and MR Shred, and Mechanoswarm applies anti-heal if you're missing those. My personal favorite upgrade set is triple self-repair, making the turret also a great source of frontline. Positioning is pretty simple, with the T-Hex in the second row corner behind Sejuani. This lets the T-Hex get an amazing angle for his laser beam, and becomes the next tank in line after Sejuani falls. Heimer's turret goes the opposite side of TX for more frontline. Jace's ability gives his adjacent allies attack speed, so you can place Zeri and Jinx next to him, especially if that Last Whisper on Jinx, keeping her on the same side as Zeri to shred armor for her. That wraps it up for 5 vertical comps you need to know to climb in set 9. My name's Delantix, and thanks so much for watching my very first TFT video. Throughout the set, I'm going to keep making both broad and in-depth guides on every team comp and general game mechanics, so stay tuned and subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you. See you in the next video, and climb on!